So yeah, let's just jump right into it.
All right.
VP.fo has this statistic that uh, really kind of caught my attention.
Okay.
They're reporting over 2,143 children have been referred to child and adolescent psychiatry in the last 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And obviously that's a pretty significant number.
Yeah, for such a small population, too.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious from your perspective, what do you think might be contributing to that?
Well, I mean, it's tough to say for sure, without a little more investigation. I think it could be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just more awareness now than there was 15 years ago. Maybe there's less stigma
Mhm.
around mental health issues, so people are more likely to seek help or, get their kids referred.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think we have to consider some of the unique societal pressures that exist in the Faroe Islands.
So kind of shifting gears a little bit, and Faroe is covering this pretty heated debate surrounding the Isterland construction project in Torshavn.
Oh, right. Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, and John Rainey, a prominent local politician, seems to be right in the middle of it.
Oh, yeah,
All the controversy.
yeah, very vocal.
Yeah,
I think this is a good example of that constant kind of push and pull between economic development and environmental protection that we see everywhere.
yeah.
In Faroe is really focusing on all the potential economic benefits of the project.
Hmm.
Creating jobs, boosting the local economy, bringing in more housing. But then on the other hand, you have VP.fo
Yeah.
raising concerns about the environmental impact,
Right.
talking about, potential damage to the landscape, to habitats.
They even quote a local resident
Oh, really?
saying we have to put the well-being of our environment ahead of short-term economic gains.
Yeah. I
That's a
think
powerful statement.
I think it's really important to consider the long-term consequences of these kinds of projects.
Absolutely.
And, this whole debate is happening against the backdrop of these upcoming local elections
Oh, right. Yeah.
that both in.fo and VP.fo mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that local politics can have a huge impact on our lives,
Yeah, absolutely.
even if we don't always realize it.
Hmm.
So let's move on to something a little bit more uplifting.
All right. Sounds good.
VP.fo has this great story about Heidi Sevdahl.
Oh, yeah.
She just became the Faroe Islands' all-time top scorer for the women's national football team. And speaking of football, VP.O also mentions the upcoming cup final between B36 and HB.
Oh, right. That's a big one.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a really exciting match.
Oh, for sure. Those are two of the biggest rivals in Furrows football.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You got your passionate fans, your historic rivalry.
Wow.
It's going to be a great game.
Awesome. So before we move on, I have to ask about something I saw in Kringvarp, Faroe.
Oh, yeah.
They were talking about these new hair products being developed using local Faroes ingredients.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm really curious about that. What could you tell me about that?
Well, it's part of this bigger trend we're seeing all over the world.
Okay.
People are looking for locally sourced, sustainable products.
Hmm.
And the Faroe Islands have all these incredible natural resources. So these hair products are kind of tapping into that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really interesting development.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what other hidden gems are out there just waiting to be discovered.
Right, exactly.
And kind of along those same lines of local traditions, both VP.O and N.O highlighted the 100th anniversary celebration of the Salvation Army in the Faroe Islands. So let's take a look at some international news with a Faroes angle.
Okay.
Arrow reports that Denmark's foreign minister has come out and condemned Israel's ban on the UNRWA.
Right, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees.
Yeah. And then VP.4 adds to this whole global context
Oh, how so?
by mentioning Volodymyr Zelensky's upcoming address to the Nordic Council in Reykjavik.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the visit of the American aircraft carrier, the USS Carrie S. Truman, to the region.
It really does seem like the Faroe Islands are becoming more and more connected to global events.
Yeah, it's like they're right at the center of this complex geopolitical landscape.
It'll be really interesting to see how they continue to navigate all of that.
Definitely. We'll delve deeper into these stories and more in the next part of our deep dive. And speaking of impact, Inlandio Sum 4 reports that the Faroe Islands are having an unseasonably warm autumn.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a simple weather report, right?
Yeah.
But it really connects to this much bigger issue of climate change.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is a huge threat to island nations like the Faroe Islands.
Especially with rising sea levels
Exactly.
and, all the extreme weather we're seeing more and more of these days.
So let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Kringvarp Faroe has this really cool story about the growing popularity of traditional Faroese crafts,
Oh, really? Like what?
like knitting and weaving.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really heartwarming to see,
Yeah,
especially in our increasingly digital world.
absolutely. I think there's a real longing for that kind of authenticity.
Hmm.
The handmade, the connection to heritage.
Yeah, as like a way of preserving their cultural identity, too.
Exactly. And passing those skills down to younger generations.
It makes you wonder if there were similar revivals happening in other parts of the world.
Right. Maybe those old traditions are making a comeback.
Yeah, maybe so. But let's move on to something a little bit different.
Okay.
In Karen Faroe reports on the development of this new tunnel connecting two islands in the Faroes archipelago.
Oh, wow. That's a big project.
Yeah, it is, and it really highlights the importance of infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
especially for island communities.
Absolutely. Connecting people, facilitating trade,
Hmm.
improving access to essential services.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that progress isn't always about the latest technology.
All right.
Sometimes it's about those basic building blocks.
The things that connect us.
Exactly. So shall we move on to our last set of stories for today?
Let's do it.
All right, VP.FO reports that the Faroes fishing industry is facing some challenges.
Oh, no. What kind of challenges?
Well, fluctuating fish stocks,
Right.
changing international regulations.
Yeah, that's a story we hear all too often these days.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. So to end on a more positive note, Kringvarp Faroe highlights the upcoming premiere of this new Faroes film.
Oh, cool. What's it about?
Well, it's supposed to explore the complexities of modern life in the Faroe Islands.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, and it's really great to see Faroes artists and filmmakers sharing their stories with the world. So it seems like we've reached the end of our pub crawl through the news of the day.
It's been quite a journey. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.
Cheers to that.